Hey, welcome to another edition of Chocobo Chasers. I'm your host, G, and as always, I am joined by the Chocobros, Eric and Dash. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast, whether it be Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. How are you guys doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Hell
Pretty
yeah.
good. Been busy a bit, but here we are.
I can imagine. We've come into the second week of March here, fresh off the heels of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna kick our show off as we normally go ahead and do here with what are you playing? We've got some pretty interesting topics and a fun discussion. Me and the boys had a little bit of homework to do before today's episode, so it's always a fun time when we get to go ahead and do that. So, without further ado, I'll go ahead and I'll kick us off. To no one's surprise, I have been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I am about 45 hours in. I have been very close to no lifing this game, but I will say I am savoring it a little bit because I will say this. It is going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult for anything to beat this in a game of the year conversation for me right now. One, if you've played Final Fantasy VII Remake, it is a very serious tone. And the start of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is very different. Comes off much more lighthearted. There's a lot more, I almost want to say kind of leans into anime style like tendencies where it's kind of like wacky and zany a little bit, but then kind of also shifts back into that more serious tone as the game progresses. And I have probably done a bit more of the story than Dash has, just knowing how Dash plays his games. I am One thing I really like about PlayStation is that it tells you how far percentage wise you are into the main story of the game if you're just on the main menu. And I am nearing about 90% now. So by the time we're talking next week, I may have beaten this game. But that being said, I'm also at the point now where I'm kind of going back doing all the side quests. My point here is that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a 10 out of 10 for me. It is absolutely incredible. Side quests are fun. Mini games, we'll get to that. Combat is so much different than Remake, and not in a bad way. There's just so much expansion, and it is hard. There are some bosses that are like legitimately difficult that I'm having to do like multiple times. But one thing I'll say, if you're playing this game, use the parry and use the block. It's something that I'm not used to in this system, and I think that's been a little bit of my downfall. In addition to that, really only just played Madden and a little bit of Helldivers because this is really kind of the biggest thing that's getting my attention. Dash, I'm going to pass it on to you, obviously, because I know you are also playing this game.
Yeah, and really nothing new from last week compared to what I've been doing this week. It's just been a little bit of Call of Duty Zombies just to keep things fresh and not constantly do the same thing over and over again. Call of Duty just did their Warhammer 40K collaboration, so they have like a
Hmm,
whole bunch of like operator packs that have Warhammer inspired stuff. So if you're a fan of Warhammer, check it out because I mean, they're actually pretty decent looking skins. They got like a sister battle, the ultramarine kind of scout marine kind of looking guy, and a typical like Imperial Guardsman. So those are like the three different ones they have. But other than that, more Hell Divers. Congratulations, we got our mechs. Am
did
like
it.
I think I'm level 24, so I can't get the mechs yet, and even then I have to save up the 20,000 Rex to get
It's a
it.
lot.
But yeah, it's just kind of like if I see one of my friends online playing Helldivers, I'm gonna jump in and run a couple dives with them just to get some medals and wreck so I can start leveling up because I feel like I'm just catching up at this point. I got friends that are like level 40 right now.
Yeah. And I think you max out at 50 as of right
Yep.
now.
And you like I think they max you out on your wreck points at like 100,000 too. I have some friends that are just like holding on to them, not buying anything. So
Like,
you just
why?
just spend it. Unlock everything. You might as well.
Yeah.
Because if the way that they're trying to balance out this game, they might as well. And also, if you pay attention to Reddit, they have like leaks of what we can expect from the Illuminate and like have like all the models and that's definitely going to be very fun once they drop the Illuminate into the game. But that's probably some time away. Other than that, it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I wish I had more time with it. I spent the entirety of like Saturday and Sunday pretty much away from home, so I did not get to play as much this weekend as I did. So I am like literally right before the Golden Saucer is where I left off. So I've done like all the side quests and everything in that Corel region, the Costa del Sol, and now I'm just gonna go into the Golden Saucer. I didn't want to start it right at this point because I knew if I started it, I'm probably not gonna put it down for a while, and
Yeah, I
I
think
want to
that's
have the time to do it.
I think that's fair to say. And there's going to be some fun stuff there. So I'm excited for you to do it and we can
But
definitely discuss a little bit more.
I'm not sure if it's just I haven't come across too hard of bosses yet, but like, even like the Terror of the Deep that I struggled with in the demo, when I got to it in the regular game, I actually didn't struggle with that at all. Like maybe I just finally got a hand of this new system of combat and had more familiarity with my
Definitely could be.
abilities and everything.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I am using those synergy skills a lot, and the synergy abilities, it's just more about like it really helps for building up the APB bar for your other party members you're not using. So you don't have to constantly switch back between and forth them to build it up. You can
Yeah.
use a synergy skill, and both of you guys are getting the charge. So that really is really underrated, I think, if anything. But
Yeah, absolutely.
um really looking forward to seeing what else they do with this. I mean, I've been lucky enough to stay away from a significant amount of spoilers, which
Same.
I am pleasantly surprised with because usually, like even like the first day of games out, somebody uploads a video on YouTube and it always ends up in your recommended where it's like final secret boss, blah blah blah, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be right in the thumbnail kind of stuff. So really happy that I still can go through this experience relatively untouched. So, I mean, it's not like I'm not sure. I mean, without spoiling anything, are there any major changes to Final Fantasy VII lore besides like more focus on certain aspects? Because you get a lot
There's
more.
there's a few.
Yeah.
Nothing that is like story breaking
Mhm.
or anything to that extent, I would say. I will say that I am at a point where I have everyone in my party officially. I have Vincent and Sid as of now. So
How do they work, I guess, is my question. Because I'm assuming they're kind of like Red 13, where,
very yeah, exactly that way. And so and you really don't get them a lot.
yeah.
It's kind of in limited instances.
I
But
guess I can
it's
understand why they did it because they had to flesh out all the existing characters plus Yuffie and Kate Sith, and then to throw in Sid and Vincent along with that. That's just adding so much more because you would think that this is just simply part two of a game, but it's really a whole new game and a whole new experience,
yeah,
which I mean, I some people might be salty about that because they took one game and split it into three parts, but I mean, you have to because it and I guess also starting over from a low level at the beginning of this game was kind of a bummer because it's kind of like what was happening all the progress and stuff I did in part one.
right,
What was that all that for?
right. So, but no, it's an experience.
Best experience I've had. It's really hard to put down, and you really lose yourself in these very well crafted open world sections where they're open but not too open to the point where you feel overwhelmed. And I
Yeah,
really appreciate that when it comes to open world design because if there's one way to quickly lose me in the game, it's just to like open up the world and I feel like I have no direction.
yeah,
Like Elden Ring did it in a great way where it's open, it doesn't tell you where to go, but it's designed to lead you to a certain way so that you find your way naturally to where you need to go.
yeah. Well, in the first few, whatever they're called, it's you fire, it's
Yeah,
usually
they point you
they
to
point
like,
you in the
yeah.
direction. So that's a great example, actually.
Yeah, that's the kind of open world design I appreciate. I know they got like the Ubisoft tower unlock kind of system in
Yeah.
there. which unfortunately has just kind of been a mainstay in open world games at this point
It
since
is.
Ubisoft has introduced it. But
Yeah. No, it definitely is. But no, it's a fantastic game.
yeah.
Uh Eric, what about you, man? What have you been playing?
So I have been going hard at Helldivers
Ooh,
last week, having a good time. I just reached level 12. I've unlocked things like the guard dog backpack. Uh,
it's
Dude,
clutch.
it's sick. It
It's
is
great.
so awesome. Just watch it, especially the one with the like the energy base
Yep.
Yeah.
laser that just has unlimited ammo and just can go mow down anything at once and just sits there. It's really funny when you're behind your friends and it just starts following them and kills them. That's great. Um, Another fun one's the mortar sentry.
Yep,
I've gotten to use that, and that's a lot of fun. Not so much fun against bugs because you will kill your teammates.
you will.
But it's funny. So that's all that matters. My friends have learned that if I say get out of town from where I call in an airstrike, go back another 10 feet or at least because if I wherever I say go back to, you will die. Um, I
He
think I had
did.
like I think between I think yesterday I think we probably had at one point like 8 friendly frags just between me and one other guy. We
I
were blowing each other
wish
up. It was so good.
I wish really badly that that was a stat that was like uh counted
It
as
says it
my.
at the end of the
Yeah.
raid. It
Oh, it
says
does say friendly. Okay.
it'll say accidentals and you get the amount of team damage, which is funny because I had like 8 accidentals, which is, kills on your teammates, but I had
Right.
like 20 damage. But my friend who meleeed me after I'd killed him twice and he didn't kill me had like 500 damage because he
Oh
meleeed
my
the shit out of me.
God.
I feel like
Um,
I forgot to glance over like the new update. They added environmental hazards now, like meteor
Yes.
storms and fire
ye-
tornadoes, and oh my God, those I love the meteor storms especially.
yeah, I haven't ran into that yet, so that's pretty cool. Um, one thing I really like, I like the whole way to like you can earn super credits. I like being able like the store's relatively cheap with some of the
Yeah.
things you can buy. And they kind of cycle the same stuff, so you don't feel like you're missing on anything. Like you're like, oh, I don't like that too much. That you can check
Yeah.
tomorrow, and then maybe
There's
you're like,
something
oh, I
new.
did like that. Yeah, something new. And ooh, hold on, boys. Give me 1 second.
Oh, you're okay, buddy.
Um, I'll be right back.
No, you're okay.
Hey, is everything okay?
I feel like he should have muted himself just in case.
No, no, it's okay.
All right, okay.
I can always just go ahead and mute him. So I'll just edit this part out. So that is no issue.
We
But
can we can keep the ball rolling. Have you seen some of those monstrosities that people have created in Dragon's Dogma 2?
dude, I don't know if I posted it in the Discord, but the one someone no, I didn't. There's
All
this
right,
one and someone created a compilation
we're good.
and yeah, everything all right?
Yep, everything's good. We are just having some issues with the cat. I think I'm gonna have to.
Oh no.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Oh no.
we've got to take her to like we brought her to the vet last week, and they did like an ultrasound on her.
Yeah.
They said her intestines are thick, and it's either IBD or lymphoma, but he can't tell. I have to bring her to like a specialist, but the specialist wants $800 just to like do the ultrasound, and I paid 600 at the regular vet the other day.
Bro, it's wild how
Um,
expensive that stuff is.
Pet
so
insurance, man.
so
It's
I got pet
uh,
insurance, but I've got to wait like 2 weeks before I can bring her anywhere.
And
But
she's just like going through it in
I
the
mean, it's like,
meantime.
yeah, like she's like vomiting randomly, sporadically, and then she'll like be fine, and she just kind of like 2 days of like her being on a different food, she was fine, and now she's back to throwing up. And
Girl.
Michelle's just out there kind of worried. So
yeah.
I have to get rid of her.
I think
Yeah.
as mine gets older, I'm probably gonna have to do some that like so I've heard some people say they get like pet insurance through their jobs and stuff. I've never
Yeah,
had
I
that,
have
but
it.
Yeah,
so
the
I'm
mhm.
gonna have to pick up some kind of insurance because I know as like cats get older, they start having.
So it's covered through my job, but they cover one pet. I
Mm.
have, yeah, so it that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily help me a ton right now. But
What I bought covers like 80% of your vet trips.
That's definitely worth it
it's
then.
nice.
So
How much do you have to pay like monthly for that?
27 bucks.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No, especially like we split it, so like 13.50 a month.
I mean,
You know,
that's Netflix right there.
that's
So
not bad at all.
that's
All right,
less than Netflix.
so
Oh
we'll
man,
kick it
at this
back
point.
off.
Okay.
We'll pick back up. We were talking about the store and Helldivers, all right.
Yes.
So the store with Helldivers, you get, there's just things that pop up that are awesome,
Yep.
and then but you can earn the super credits, or you can find them in missions,
Yeah.
which is pretty awesome. And then after I finish up with some Helldivers, I so Crusader Kings 3 updated, and the mod for Game of Thrones is not updated yet. So I have to switch games because I don't want to play vanilla Crusader Kings 3 because I don't care about it that much. So I've been on the Game of Thrones kick now that I've gotten, addicted back to that. I saved I had a couple different playthroughs where Rhaegar won. Some people might think that should have been the canon. Everybody loves Rhaegar. Um, so I downloaded a Game of Thrones mod for Mountain Blade Bannerlord 2, Realm of Thrones. It's created by a dude named Carolina Warlord. You can look him up on YouTube. He's got a bunch of Let's Plays, install tutorials on how to do it. Does a great job, and it's just a mod basically where it changes the entire map of Calradia in Mountain Blade into Westeros, and it pops you in right before the War of the Five Kings, right before Ned Stark gets executed, actually. And you get you can create a character, you make your own clan, and you can earn your way up. So right now I'm pledged to Robb Stark, and I've taken a couple castles which he has awarded me after taking them, and I'm part of the Northern Army fighting the Westerlands, the Reach, the Tyrells, if in case anybody didn't know that, and then we're fighting the Ironborn too. Go figure. And if you never play Mountain Blade Bannerlord, it's it's pretty fun. There were some things like it took a long time in early access to get out of it. It went to
I was like,
console
yeah, I
really
thought
before it got out of early access, which made a lot of people mad. And but it's cool because like it's kind of like a cross between like a tactician, city builder. I hate to say city builder because you don't get that much in depth. There's like a few categories and you get to spend money to improve them, but you get to fight battles like as your character while simultaneously doing tactics, having troop regiments attack, defend, hold flanks, and things like that. And you also get to go whack people in the head with two-handed swords or hammers. So it's pretty awesome. And that was pretty much what rounded out my last week and a half.
Oh yeah.
Helldivers. So it's so fucking good.
It
I
is. It
always
really
thought
is.
Mountain Blade was like an MMO kind of game too, where it was like multiplayer or something.
I think there is multiplayer for Bannerlord, but I don't think it lasted very long. Like I think
Hmm.
most people quit playing pretty soon. It took so long to drip in content for them and other things like
It's
that, and that
a yeah. It's a tough
it's
part
a
of early access. Like you have to be continually just
yes.
adding things, and it has to be relevant content in order for, otherwise you're gonna have people who are gonna stop. And then when you release the full product down the line, like you very well can get a lot of those people to come back, and you're gonna get new people as well. But it's just kind of a slog at that point. So
And it is a lot of fun, and it just I think moving it to console before it was actually a finished product kind of made some people mad. But I think Mountain Blade Warband, which is the predecessor to that, which also has a really great Game of Thrones mod, is like $3. It's just really dated, so
there you go.
you just have to deal with it being old.
Nothing wrong with old games. Uh,
Mm-mm.
so we are typically pretty lighthearted on this show. We joke, we laugh. We also wanted to take some time. So this week, we lost a pillar in the media community. And I say media because I didn't want to single this person into one specific category. So, for those who are unaware, Akira Toriyama, who is basically one of the biggest manga authors ever, the creator of Dragon Ball, which spawned so much influence in Western culture. I know like Hispanic culture, really every culture just around the world has been impacted by Dragon Ball in one way or another.
You didn't even have to like anime, but
You
you liked
yeah,
Dragon Ball.
you didn't have to be it like that's a perfect way of putting it. You didn't have to like anime, but you knew what Dragon Ball was. You knew who Goku was. You like And for those who are anime fans, I mean, I look at myself, I am not like the hugest anime fan. But I look back on my time as a child and as a young teenager watching Dragon Ball Z and just in absolute awe of the writing and the journey that these characters took you on. The Cell Saga will always hold like a very special place in my heart. And I just it's wild to see, and Dragon Ball is not Toriyama-san's only work that he did that had this huge influence. Obviously, there was Dr. Slump, there was Sandland, there was a lot. But Dragon Ball is obviously going to be the one that people kind of come to and think of. So we wanted to take a minute just to recognize one his accomplishments throughout his life, because he was 68 years old when he passed away, so he was a little bit older, but right, this wasn't like a senile old man by any means. um but really those accomplishments are something that I think are going to be influential, you know 30-40 years down the road. We have soccer teams around the world who are wearing gold spiky hair to their matches, just to give you like a slight idea of like the impact that these games had on today's culture. And you see, whether directly or indirectly, that impact still continues. And so it's a somber day that we have to go ahead and move forward without this pillar in our community, because he was huge in the gaming community as well, because obviously a lot of influence. I think Square was a huge proponent of obviously the art style of Dragon Ball Z. You see a ton in Dragon Quest. Sandland is literally getting a new game coming soon.
Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, exactly. Like we see so much influence there, and we see it's wild to have so much of one person in so many
It
different
ends up being
places.
like a domino effect where if you take out Akira Toriyama, you lose a lot of series down the line. Like theoretically, you could lose Final Fantasy because I think Dragon Quest was kind of this, inspiration going into
It
Final
was.
Fantasy.
And if you look at like Cloud Strife's original character model, he bears a very, very similar resemblance to Gohan, like coming out of the hyperbaric time chamber. Like it's there's just so much influence, and our media and our gaming would not be what it is today without him. So we want to thank him, one, obviously, for everything that he's put forward that we have had the pleasure to kind of digest here going forward. And hopefully his family is able to go ahead and move forward, and I'm hoping that we get to see his influence continue for years to come.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Dash.
experiencing Dragon Ball. Like I didn't have a PS2 or any kind of console growing up really. I had the PC, so going to a friend's house, he had Dragon Ball Budokai, the original first one. So that was my first experience with a PlayStation 2, and that's what made me want to get a PlayStation at that point because I wanted to play games like this going forward. And honestly, Dragon Ball fighting games have been a pillar in just that part area. We had also Kakarot come out recently, and the new Budokai Tenkaichi, which I think they renamed it to something else,
It's yeah,
Shining Force, I think, or something like
yeah,
that.
something
But
to that extent.
yeah, really excited to see how that how the future of the series is going to go because I know he had a successor with Toriyama, I believe his name was, and he's been kind of handling like the Dragon Ball Super like manga going forward.
Hmm.
So we'll see how the new. I'm pretty sure they've always worked out like a blueprint and a plan going forward. But
Yeah,
yeah, really big, really huge. I can't believe he's
absolutely.
gone still.
Yeah, absolutely monumental. On a more lighthearted note, we had a homework assignment coming into today's game. And we like to have these kinds of discussions semi-frequently on the show. One, because it's fun to drum up conversation as it pertains to the wider fandom of games. And I feel like one thing that kind of separates us maybe from other podcasts is that we tend to talk about some of these, intricacies that maybe don't get the highlight that you'd see from other podcasts. So our homework assignment was talking about some of our favorite mini games within gaming. And obviously, we're playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth right now. We'll try to refrain, I think, from some of those as much as possible, just because spoilers.
I
They're
don't
great
think
though.
I have any favorites from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, honestly. There's fun ones, but
Yeah, there's
like
some fun ones. Yeah,
overall favorite, no.
yeah. So, Eric, I am gonna have you go ahead and start. I already know at least one that you're gonna come up with. So
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and start it because I think it's. I'm gonna go ahead and just start with my favorite one, and it's Gwent from The Witcher 3.
it's so good.
It's dude, it's goated. Like it's fucking Yu-Gi-Oh card training, card collecting
Yeah.
inside of The Witcher 3. It's what was y'all's favorite stack to build?
So I always went with Nilfgaard.
Nilfgaard? Okay.
Just because I felt like I just felt like it stacked a lot better than a lot of the other ones. Um, I hated the monster deck though.
Oh, dude, because if you said monster deck, I was 100% gonna just log off. I was logging off 100%.
Yeah,
Anybody who rocks the monster deck, I do not fucking like you.
yeah. Did not like the monster deck. Wasn't a huge fan of the Squirtle either.
Yeah, Scoia'tael was lame.
But so there's Nilfgaard, Squirtle, monsters, and then what is it Rendania or is it
No, it's not Redani. It's whatever King Foltest is.
so I think that one is my favorite.
That's the one I always
Yeah,
used.
because and I think that's the starting one that you have.
It is.
Um,
But
because
I always used there was another like 'cause you had like your hero
yeah, and there was
I
a
just say
different versions of full test which
like
would
yeah
provide like some special ability. I know one of them was like clear all torrential rain or like any weather
yeah
effects off of the board.
yep and I think one of them might have been double any row you had.
It's double the yeah, I think or maybe it was like double specifically like your artillery row or something like that.
Yep.
But
Yes. It was
Gwent
awesome.
Gwent was so popular that they literally made a Gwent game
Hmm.
because so many people loved it and so many people were playing it. And Gwent, to be fair, has a 9 out of 10 on Steam. Like it's pretty highly rated. I know they're not lending support to it anymore, but also this came out in 2018. It's been 6 years. I don't think that
Hmm.
that's like a wild thing to kind of abandon at that point.
Dash
But
sunk low in his chair. Is he a monster deck user?
No, I just haven't played Witcher 3 yet.
Dash, I
I promised myself I was gonna get to it once I finished Witcher 2, and I haven't finished Witcher 2 yet, so
you don't
uh,
even need to play Witcher
I
2.
want to.
I went in without playing Witcher 2. I will say
I didn't play either one of them.
I have a greater appreciation for Witcher 2 now because like now I know these characters and kind of where they come from. The Witcher 3 is one of the greatest games of all time.
Of
That's
all
what I
time.
hear.
Like it could very easily be up on this wall right now. There have been times that I've considered changing The Last of Us out because I'll never change that one ever. But
Nope.
I have considered changing The Last of Us one out a few times for The Witcher, and my brain is like exploding right now. I cannot believe that you haven't played this.
It's like my backlog is really horrible, and I
Oh,
always have
It's got
those.
a goth mommy.
yeah.
I know I've managed to at least finish the first Witcher game 100%, and that's why I was working on the second game, and then I must have got distracted by something, and I was like,
I will say this: The Witcher 3. So I have also played The Witcher 1 and 2. Okay, The Witcher 1's combat is terrible,
nope.
and it's a very old game, so I kind of understand. But you only also get Triss in The Witcher 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And not only Triss, but she's the main kind of romanceable option. You get Yen in The Witcher 3. She's the GOAT.
Yep.
So, okay.
Once I get past all this Final Fantasy VII and Rebirth stuff, and
Never gonna happen.
yes,
I am going to hound you about this, and I'm
I will,
going
I will, I will get back on my Witcher 2 grind, and then I will get myself into Witcher 3.
and The Witcher 3's platinum. Oh, you're not gonna play anything for like months. It
I
took
got,
me
I already have it on my Steam list, so it's ready to go once I
there
get
you
there.
go. I put 200 plus hours into my platinum run for The Witcher 3, and it's so good. I Anyway, we're getting away from the conversation here. Gwent is amazing. Absolutely just it's so addicting to the point where you're like going around the map and you're just looking for new people to play. Like you don't care what's happening in the story at this point. I
Mhm.
just care
Getting the
for a
hero
round.
cards,
Yeah, care
like
for
Pokemon, gotta catch
yeah,
them all.
exactly. And then there's a whole side quest in one of the expansions where you do a Gwent tournament,
Yeah.
and it's in Blood and Wine, which is one of the best expansions of all time. So it's Dash, and you get to play the expansions too for the first time. Like what the fuck? Uh Man. Okay. Eric, any other mini games that you had highlighted on your list?
So there's actually an underrated one, even though the game is fucking abysmal. From Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Orlog. Hope that's how you say it.
Hmm.
It's um it's really weird. You have like these little like wooden tokens that you place down, and it's 1v1, obviously. It's almost like a card game kind of. It's axes and bows. And
Okay.
you put axes against bows and things like that. They shoot each other. And as you win, you collect coins, and you can exchange these coins for god powers that help power you up like to win the game and things
Okay.
like that. It was just pretty fun. It was almost like because you went down different parts of the map hunting down people to play, and then you would get different god powers to use, things like that. It was pretty fun. It was probably the most fun I had in Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah, it's not a great game. It's a very big game,
Yeah,
but
it's a big game.
it's not a great game.
Oh,
So
we'll round out. I got a couple more, but I want to see
okay.
if y'all. I don't want to take anything from
No,
y'all.
you're good. Dash, what about you, man?
Uh, I'm gonna go with like overall, this is something used in a lot of video games,
Mhm.
just fishing in general. Uh,
Ooh,
Final
I
Fantasy 15 had a really good fishing mini game.
they did.
Uh, you had Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. The fishing there was fantastic. World of Warcraft, even like it's kind of just simple, throw it in and click it when it pops, but I mean, it's kind of a mini game in itself there, and almost every MMO has it to some extent. Honestly,
Right.
it's just it's like everybody even asks, "Is there fishing in this game?" kind of stuff. Like it's really widely requested. It's crazy.
When I found
Uh,
out Breath of the Wild didn't have fishing, I was super bummed out because I spent hours on Ocarina of Time
Trying to get the big
fishing.
one.
Yeah.
oh man. Let's see. What's another good one? I'm gonna go with another card game because card games are really good for mini games.
They are.
Triple Triad. That's my personal favorite when it comes to the Final Fantasy card games. I know some people like Queen's Blood, but for me, it's always going to be Triple Triad that really takes it. And I know, like, I'm not a fan of like the later game Triple Triad where they throw in all these crazy region rules that really make it hard. But like it's really fun to grind out in the beginning. Like the first couple hours of the game, you're not even like fighting battles or anything. You're just gonna be running around do using the triple triad to build up a inventory of cards because then you can use the refined abilities from your guardian forces to create a stock of high level magic early game, and you could just increase your stats like crazy with the junction system. So it played into the game so well,
Yeah.
especially because Final Fantasy VIII wasn't one of those games you could power level your way through. Because if you power level, you're just hurting
Everything
yourself.
else just is getting more powerful too.
Level
So
99 Marlboro, no thank you. I'll probably give it to G because I know he's probably gonna say something that I might say, but we can come back to me later if he doesn't cover it.
okay. Uh I'll start low hanging fruit. Let's go Blitzball.
Yep.
Absolutely love it. I love it. The game is very fun, and I love that you can go around Spirit and recruit players, which is like, almost like playing your own like fantasy style blitzball. But I will say that it's a very breakable game. Like it's very easy to get just super good really early. But just the idea of blitzball, to me is just so cool. Like this underwater style, like rugby and soccer. Um, it's just very, very cool. So obviously that's probably my number one. Gwent is another one that I'd throw in there as well because it's so good. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I mentioned we're not going to talk about it too much, but Queen's Blood, I actually do really enjoy it. Um, I will say this is a tough one. Um, I Final Fantasy just in general has typically always come through with some like awesome mini games. Fort Condor in Final Fantasy VII Intermission was really, really great. Um, and honestly, it's just a ton of fun. Um, One thing that I also I'd say is really, really fun is poker in the Red Dead Redemption series is a very fun one. Um,
They took out
and
cheating in two, which really sucked. You could cheat in the first Red Dead Redemption in poker,
I
but they
actually
took
didn't
it
know
out.
that.
Yep. If you had to have one special suit, it was like the elegant suit maybe, and you had to do this little meter that had an arrow on it. You had to hit it the right spot, and it would slide a card into your sleeve.
Really?
And they took it out for Red Dead Redemption 2, which is
Hmm.
bullshit.
One that we haven't mentioned, and this is I'm not don't know if I would necessarily consider this a mini game, but it kind of fits, and that's Mercenaries mode in Resident Evil. Um, it's not a traditional mini game to the sense where it happens like within the game, but Mercenaries mode, and especially in Resident Evil like 4, 5, and 6, was awesome. Something that I would absolutely love to see kind of make a return. I know that Mercenaries mode has returned in Village and 4, but it's not kind of the same as it was. If they did have a means to kind of recreate it in the sense that it was in the original 4, 5, and 6, I think that there would be a lot of very, very happy fans. Um, so with that, you guys have any others that we haven't talked about?
Uh,
Pazak, I
oh,
think is
Pazak, yeah.
from Knights of the Old Republic. And
Okay.
Yes.
if you don't remember that, it was basically 1v1 blackjack, but instead of a dealer you were going against another person, and you had to get to 21 first with a series of cards. You
Hmm.
played on these little terminals in Knights of the Old Republic. I remember just trying to and it was weird because you always had to go first. So you never got that advantage of like if you had the first card, like you almost like never went last. So you could be beat at the last second, but it was a really fun game.
It was really fun. Uh, Another, I guess, that I didn't mention, I don't know how well this was received, but and Final Fantasy X-2 is not a game that's like revered among a lot of people. I really enjoyed it. But Sphere Break was kind of their new mini game that they had reintroduced in that game, and I had a lot of fun with it. It was actually very challenging, which I appreciated. Um, just because I don't, mini games are really fun, but I also don't necessarily want to play something that I can kind of like game break and just, easily manipulate every single time. I do like to be challenged every once in a while. So, Dash, any others from you?
Chocobo racing from the original Final Fantasy VII was like a lot of fun. It was very tedious because you had to breed the right chocobo to get to the higher level maps though. And then there's always that one guy, I forget his name, where if you saw him in the lineup, you better hope that you had like a gold chocobo too, because he was gonna kick your ass otherwise. I'm not so does Rebirth have the chocobo racing also like that,
It
or
does, and
all right?
I have finished all of the Chocobo races, and I'm wondering if it's the same person. I'd never finished.
He's like kind of wears like a hat, like
So there's a character who fits this description slightly. So I'm wondering if it is the same
It's like
person.
a Spanish outfit, I guess, kind of
It
thing.
it does kind of
Yep.
look like that, and he rides a chocobo called Hyperion, and
Yep.
it is it's a beast. But no, there's the chocobo racing in Rebirth, and this is the last that I'll talk about. This one is it feels like Mario Kart, and
Mm.
I say that in the most flattering way possible. It is so fun. My I was worried that I was going to have a blister on my thumb from mashing X so hard during this mini game. Dash, you'll have to let me know once you get there so we can talk about it a little bit
Well, I
more. But
definitely will be there probably by next week at least because I'm right before the Golden Saucer. Well, Square is really good at their mini games because the rest of my list is still Square stuff, and I'm going to focus on Kingdom Hearts now because there's a
oh
lot of great.
man, how did I forget?
Kingdom Hearts 2 especially is filled with mini games.
Seriously.
It's the tournament cups are classified as mini games, I
Yeah,
guess. So
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, getting to the end of like Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts one's tournament and then getting those special expedition matches
Just
and you
getting
finally
fucking wailed on Sephiroth. Like,
yep, you finally get Sephiroth as like the last mystery one. The two ones were pretty good too because they had like special modifiers and objectives. Like it wasn't just about surviving or winning. It was like, oh yeah, get this many points or you know, do it in this amount of time. Uh this might be a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I kind of like rhythm stuff. So like the Little Mermaid world was a bit fun for me.
no,
I
I can
know
definitely
some
see it.
people don't, but let's go for the biggest Kingdom Hearts mini game, and each game does it differently. The gummy ships
Ooh,
missions,
yeah.
like each game does it so differently, but honestly, each one does like it's really fun to do. Like I know some people might just like I never warped to planets. I wanted to go through the gummy ship course each time. I didn't care. Those were my personal favorites just from Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, those are some great ones. Man, I can't believe I had totally forgotten about that. Um, but it just kind of shows Square obviously has a lot of respect, I think, for mini games, but also I think they realize that some of their games can be, I don't want to say tedious, but like they're longer games. So I think you have to kind of find means to break it up a little bit. And a lot of their games are also incredibly emotional. They're kind of heavy stories, and that's how they write.
I know
But
that was like the biggest criticism for Final Fantasy 16, but it was kind of just like 16 was just one of those games where narratively they just didn't need the mini games at all. And
no, it was a game that you could definitely sense they had wanted to emulate a lot of like Western culture, and there was a lot of like Game of Thrones-esque, I'd say, style in the game that was very new to the series. But I mean, I don't think that it was executed poorly. I think it was just a change. So yeah, those are some great ones. Do you guys have any others?
The Grand Theft Auto mini games where you can be like a taxi driver or an
yes,
ambulance
yes.
driver. You can go put out fires if you want.
Oh man.
Just absolutely totally ridiculous. Cousin, let's go bowling.
Yeah.
As a kid, I spent so much time in GTA 3 just being the taxi driver. That was a lot of fun,
Oh, I
honestly.
used to I used to go drive the ambulance around. It was so fun.
The RC helicopter.
Oh, fuck that mission.
Oh man.
Fuck that. The air like the RC airplane.
Yeah.
That's the only mission in San Andreas I didn't beat.
Oh man. That
Oh
was
man, just those
difficult.
like old controls too, and
Yeah. Very tanky, just yeah.
even the Jack games had some pretty good mini games where it's like you had those little kiosks that opened up as you got through the games, and it would be like find this orb, and it'll show you it for a split second. You got like 20 seconds to get to that location to grab it, or some of them will be like ring races where you just have to get to the next ring in a certain amount of time, or even just an overall race. There were some good racing mini games in both Jack. All three games had pretty good racing segments, I'd say. Like that
Yeah.
was like a big foundation of the series, and Jack 3 had like the desert racing stuff that was really fun, and just having like a bunch of cars strapped with machine guns, and I mean, obviously we ended up getting a whole Jack
Jack
racing
racing game.
racing
Yeah.
game after all this. So yeah, it wasn't the
Well,
best. It was all right. I wouldn't say it was horrible, but
yeah, and but I mean, we're getting like full games out of just straight side content. And
yep.
so one thing that we haven't mentioned, Hogwarts Legacy had some pretty awesome side
Hmm.
like
Yep.
mini games. Like the broom races were awesome. If they potentially do look to add like Quidditch or something, to that extent to those games, like that would be
Yeah, like playing through Sorcerer's Stone or Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban. I think all three of them had their own individual Quidditch side game where you had like the World Cup and they have like all the or not World Cup, but the Quidditch Cup,
yeah.
and you'd have all the matchups against the different houses. So it was really good. And
That
I
was
mean,
over a year ago, man. That's crazy. Took
we
the
had
world
the
by storm.
we had the Quidditch World Cup game all those years ago for like the PS2 Game Boy era, kind of. So
Well,
it's
and WB is working on their own Quidditch game, when whether that's going to be a part of Hogwarts Legacy or its sequel, or it's just going to be a standalone game. There's a lot of options because I think, obviously, with the success of Helldivers, I think you're maybe seeing people who were a little afraid of live service. They might be like, "Oh, well, we can still do this. We can still jump back in." But it's like you have to have a very specific vision for this, and you have to one, your game has to be, you know, inexpensive or free is a great place to start. And then you have to continue to bring new content, and it has to be a great gameplay loop. And that's really what these mini games do, is they provide there's means that you continue to keep coming back, and it's still providing those new experiences. Because like Gwent, for example, it gets hard towards the end. Like there's some dudes who have some fucking beast hands. And I've definitely had to reload my saves, like especially in the tournament, because I got my ass fucking handed to me. Like, and I'll have to do it multiple times because these dudes are just, they're good, and they have really good hands, and sometimes it's luck. Like sometimes it's just depending on your draw. Sometimes, same thing with Blitzball. Like you have to play Blitzball as part of the story, but only one match. But during that one match, like you want to win, you want to beat the Luca goers. Let's make the goers goners. Um,
that
it's
buzzer beater against them that I did on my latest playthrough was just glorious.
it's yeah, it's just so good. So, but no, man, these you guys came through. These were some really good ones.
Actually, I think I have one more. And I
Yeah.
just lost it. I had it and I lost it. It's in
Well,
my Oh,
keep
Warcraft 3. Uh the campaign had like a built-in like if you did certain conditions in some missions in the campaign for Warcraft 3, you unlocked a tower defense mission in between. And I'm a big sucker for tower
hmm,
defenses. I know you had like in Warcraft 3 custom games, you had so many custom games built just for tower defense. And honestly, that those are pretty much a mini game in their own right, which obviously with Warcraft 3 custom games, we ended up getting MOBAs, which led into Dota and
Dota and
League of
League and
Legends.
Smite, and I mean just uh so many different things.
That's the last one for me.
Yeah, no, that's good. Eric, any others from you?
That's all I got.
Yeah, those were some great ones, guys. Good job. So to close out the show tonight, we don't have actually like a ton on this. Xbox had a partner preview, which didn't get a ton of fanfare. And I think there's a little bit of a reason for that. There was really no, I don't want to say major games, but there was no like headlining big spectacle AAA like games that you're thinking like, man, this is going to be like, Avowed level like style game. Um, so we got a 30-minute conference talking about four new games that are coming. And some of them were games that we knew were coming, some of them we didn't. I know one big thing that was really popular is Final Fantasy 14 is finally making its way over to Xbox. A lot of people are really excited for that. Um, Stalker, the original trilogy of games, is making its
Uh,
way to both Xbox and PlayStation. I know a lot of people are also really excited about that. We got a release date reveal for Frostpunk 2. Um,
yes.
there's a game, Tales of Kinzera Zhao, which looks very similar to the new Prince of Persia. And as somebody who just finished that game and really loved it, I'm excited to see if this can kind of keep up with everything that that game did. And obviously, there's going to be some major differences, but from a platforming and from an art standpoint, there's a lot of similarities there. Um, Another game which kind of piqued my interest a little bit was the first Berserker, Kazan, which had more of like a anime soulsy. If you've seen the game Cloud Vein, I got a lot of like those vibes, except it's not vampires or anything like that. But just from an art style standpoint, definitely got a lot of those. We did get also a reveal for the Sinking City 2. For anybody who's into, Lovecraftian games. The trailer was super creepy, and it
Didn't the first
definitely
game have like a bunch of legal issues too?
it did. And I know that it just transferred ownership, I believe, to the actual developers of the game. So that's great to hear. One thing I did want to call out though, so there was a game that was announced that's called Unknown Nine. Um, which so we have seen over the last few years, there's been a shift in performers who are in these games, shifting from people we would consider to be video game actors to larger stars are now kind of making their way into games. We've obviously seen Norman Reedus with Death Stranding, and not only him, but Mads Mikkelsen, uh, Guillermo del Toro's likeness is used in the game. Uh, and I mean, we Matthew McConaughey is going to be in a new game coming out. What's really cool is Anya Schlosser from The Witcher, she plays Yennefer, is going to be the main character in this new game. It's new Bandai Namco Reflector Entertainment. Um, so it's that was definitely one that kind of caught my eye. I don't know if you guys had a chance to take a look at this.
Yeah, I
Um,
watched it.
was there any games that caught your attention?
The Altars. That was the one I really kind of was intrigued by. So it was like this base manager survival game where you take clones for, or not clones, but like I guess like versions of yourself from alternate realities that have all these different personalities and traits to them. And like the base mechanic is like your base is like on this wheel, and the base building kind of reminds me of Fallout Shelter a bit, where it's like all like rectangular base, so you're just putting modules together on different floors and stuff.
Cool.
But like I'm really interested to see how that turns out. I mean, but base building's always been like a something I'm a sucker for, obviously with my tendencies to play games like Stronghold and Against the Storm, which also with Frostpunk 2 around the corner, that's also something I'm really excited about because I really enjoyed the first Frostpunk. And with the way the second game's shaping up, it seems like they're going away from like focusing on building like those individual buildings. It's more about managing like overall districts and stuff. So we'll
Yeah.
see how much they expand on the formula in that game. Uh, Stalker's a great series if you've never played it. It's kind of janky on PC, so I wonder with the re-release if they're going to do some quality of life improvements that it probably needs.
Yeah, I would imagine they probably do. Um, a- Another game which also looked pretty great, and we've seen a few instances of it in these Xbox conferences, is Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. It's a new
Oh yeah.
Capcom game. Get big Onimusha vibes from it. The art style is very unique and it looks great. So it is also going to be a day one release with Game Pass. So that is obviously that's a huge draw for a lot of these games. You can start even playing like Final Fantasy 14 online now because they do have an open beta which is live on Series S and X. And also they will have a starter edition available through Game Pass Ultimate, which
And
is
it's free to play up to Stormblood now.
There you go. I have not played Final Fantasy 14 for the only reason that I think I would get absolutely sucked in, and
It's gonna
then
take a lot of time because you can't just skip to the later story. You have to start from the very beginning and you have to do every story mission, all the patch story missions to get to the next expansion.
Hmm.
So there's a lot to it. And some of those missions require you to run the raids that they added in those patches too. So there's like a lot of narrative stuff related to it, which I really appreciate because there's a really strong focus on the story and the characters. And this is an MMO, which
yeah,
but because it's Final Fantasy, they have that strong world building, they have strong characters, and I mean, it's easy to see why this is honestly a big competitor of World of Warcraft. And
absolutely.
the fact that you don't have to create multiple characters to try different things, because you can change your class on the go, just like any other like Final Fantasy with job system. So if you feel like playing like a dragoon, you can, but then you can also change your kit into a black mage if you need to. So it's
Oh yeah.
really, really good. I want to get back into it, but like I said, game backlog holds me back, and I can't spend too much time on a game that
We got to get
requires
him
a
on The Witcher first before we start
yeah.
looking at any of these things. So, um, no, that's awesome, Eric. I didn't know if you had a chance to check it out at all.
I looked at a little bit. The game you're talking about that kind of has Onimusha vibes looks kind of
Yeah,
interesting. But there's just so much coming out that I really don't know if I'll have time to touch any of this stuff.
it's
And
true.
money.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it comes down to. Like I think um it's almost kind of like we're at a point with like gaming where like it's almost like
It's like an
it's
oversaturated market a little bit.
yeah, it's oversaturated a little bit. There's just too much stuff to choose from, but it's just too many like things to box. I'm like, look, I'm for sure getting Rise of the Ronin. I'm for sure gonna get Dragon's Dogma 2. And that right there is $120.
It's
Yeah.
true.
So you got to do that. I still want to buy Final Fantasy 16. So if I were to buy those three, that's almost $200 in games.
Is it 120 or 140?
Yeah, that
Well, it'd
actually.
be 70. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
140.
And so then 210 for those three. Well,
Yeah.
but Final Fantasy 16 you could probably get on sale at this point now,
Yeah.
which is a little bit nicer.
I'm still waiting for sale on that. And what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to get Rise of the Ronin right away and play that because that looks awesome. And then I know you can do your character creation for Dragon's Dogma too now. And I've seen some people just making some
Oh my
absurd
God.
characters. It's fucking hilarious.
The fact that you can modify teeth.
Oh, it's insane.
It's some inbred hillbilly looking motherfuckers coming out of there.
It is one of the most in-depth character creators I've ever seen. I saw there was a collage posted of just a bunch of people, and it had everything from they had created Walter White, they had created Handsome Squidward,
Shrek.
they had created Lazelle, and it
Yeah,
was
I've
like
seen Lazelle.
weirdly
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah. Somebody made Tobey Maguire from
Somebody
Spider-Man
made
3.
Scooby from
Or Shaggy.
Shaggy from Scooby Doo, like, and it was really good too. Like, I don't
Bike
know,
man.
yeah, like, man, he's trying to get my heart.
Gotta get this contract for this monster, Scoob.
Really?
We're obviously big Scooby Doo fans. But no, it's awesome. Definitely going to be a game. I think that kind of how we saw a lot of social media stuff from Breath of the Wild. I feel like we're going to get that level of creativity from Dragon's Dogma 2.
I do appreciate them releasing it early because some people will like you buy a game.
Hours.
Yeah, you buy a game and the first thing you're doing is creating a character. Some people spend hours doing that. So you get that out of the way early, and when the game is fully released, you're just ready to jump right in now.
Bam. So no, that's awesome. So I think that about covers everything we're going to go ahead and discuss tonight. What about you boys? Anything else you wanted to dive in before we go ahead and close out?
That's all I needed.
This is a good one.
All right. Well, hey, for anybody listening, we always appreciate you guys checking us out. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, please make sure to like, share, subscribe wherever you go ahead and get your podcasts. We'll catch you guys next time.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Thank y'all.